Carlos Corberan, the best manager in the championship, hands down. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you why I think that. We all know from what Carlos Corberan has said to the media that Marco Bielsa was a massive part of Corberan's development in management. With his time with him at Leeds United, Corberan learnt a lot, and here is what he had to say about Marco Bielsa, who is one of the best managers Leeds United have had in recent times.
In every single way that you can imagine, because from the training point of view, Marcelo is someone that his methodology of training is just different of any methodology of training of anyone that I have met before in the world. He has built one methodology of training based exactly in the way how he wants to play football. And I am someone that love to know a lot of everything that I can from the training, because I trust a lot in the day by day and in the trainings, because I think the training can help a lot to build and to organize the squad that you have. Just from this to the just to be with him 1 hour, you are going to talk about football, about someone that is many years in football, with many thoughts about every single thing that he does. Every single thing that he does in the training or in the game has in the back miles of hours of thoughts and analyze to do this. So to be working with someone and to can talk about, to see how he managed the dressing room, how he managed the training, how he managed one game, just starting like this is a lot. And after is someone very special how he managed his job, because he's ready to give his life for football, for what he's doing, and he's not going to find any type of excuse to give his 100% every single day. So just to be working with him, you are going to be watching one example that always will be one of my references.
That interview about Marco Bielsa, Carlos Corberan has even been labelled himself as the next Marco Bielsa. He's managed 3 teams: Huddersfield Town, Olympiacos and the mighty Baggies. And my God, is this man an absolute wizard. Corberan's time at Huddersfield would see him gather a win ratio of 38%. He got this from July 2020 to July 2022. He had an average of 1.4 points per game, which wasn't bad for a Huddersfield side. His win record was 39 wins, 27 draws and 36 losses. He even managed to get Huddersfield to a championship final, where they were narrowly beaten to Nottingham Forest. In Corberan's interviews, he was very disappointed with this outcome, as he is a very ambitious manager. After Carlos Corberan left Huddersfield, as he said he didn't like the direction the club was heading, he joined Greek side Olympiacos, where he only lasted 1 month. He played 11 games and then he was sacked due to poor results. After losing his job with Olympiacos, Carlos Corberan was offered the West Bromwich Albion job on October the 25th, 2022, where he returned to English football and the Championship. He was offered a 2.5-year deal. It's key to mention that before Carlos Corberan took over, Steve Bruce was West Bromwich Albion's manager, where he was appointed on the 3rd of February 2022 and only lasted until the 10th of October 2022. Steve Bruce played 32 games, 8 wins, 12 draws and 12 losses, and I genuinely thought in that season that we were going to get relegated. We were closer to the bottom than we were the top until Carlos Corberan took over. This guy was an absolute saviour with everything what was going on behind the scenes at the Hawthorns. No matter what happened, Carlos Corberan dusted himself down and got on with it. Since taking over at West Bromwich Albion, Carlos Corberan has made the Hawthorns an absolute fortress and a nightmare for away teams to come to. Anyone who comes to the Hawthorns now under Carlos Corberan can expect a very, very difficult game. As you can see, like I just mentioned, any away team what comes to the Hawthorns can expect a difficult game. This is Carlos Corberan's record at the Hawthorns since taking over in October 2022. 40 games, 26 wins, 8 draws and 6 losses. And as you can see, Albion have picked up points in 85% of their home games under Carlos Corberan, making the Hawthorns a fortress. And like I mentioned to you earlier, it hasn't all been easy for Carlos Corberan. Not only did he inherit a poor team from Steve Bruce, who absolutely nearly drove us into the ground, a lot of things were going on behind the scenes. West Brom had Guchan Lai, who I don't even like to say his name, as their owner. With no money to spend and everything what was going on, what Carlos Corberan did for the Baggies was an absolute miracle. Despite Albion having such a poor start under Steve Bruce, Carlos Corberan in his first season with West Bromwich Albion managed to finish in 9th with 66 points. Now, you might not think that that's great considering it's West Brom and, they're always around the top 6. However, when he took over, like I mentioned, West Brom were pretty much near enough the bottom of the table. But he came in and only managed to miss out on the playoffs by 3 points. West Bromwich Albion fans, including myself, were absolutely delighted with what Carlos Corberan had done. After doing so well in his first season at West Bromwich Albion, Leeds United were looking to replace manager Jesse March. And there was links pretty much the whole time of Carlos Corberan leaving West Brom, which made all the fans, including myself, very, very worried. But after so many weeks of speculation, Carlos Corberan finally signed a new deal at West Bromwich Albion, keeping him at the Hawthorns until 2027, which was absolutely music to our ears as we thought we was going to lose one of the best managers we'd had in recent years. And to top it off, Albion's Twitter trolled Leeds with this video clip here.
Why is everybody pretending you're going to Leeds when you're not?
And it's fair to say that it had catch the attention of football Twitter, including some big names like Mark Goldbridge, who absolutely loved the tweet. As well as being brilliant tactically, Carlos Corberan is also absolutely loved by the West Bromwich Albion players, who cannot say enough good things about him in interviews. Obviously, we all know that players aren't going to say bad things necessarily in interviews, but they all come out with the same thing and say Carlos Corberan is one of the best managers tactically, and his attention to detail is absolutely superb. Examples of this is how he gets the best out of players. If we look at Cedric Kipre, before his loan to Cardiff under different managers, he looked absolutely woeful. He came back and was managed by Carlos Corberan for 1 season and was our player of the season. Carlos Corberan still had a massive challenge on his hands, with things going on off the pitch. Luckily for Carlos Corberan, we got took over by a backing owner in Shilan Patel. But before that, we had Guchan Lai, who barely came to the games, barely backed the manager, and there was a lot of friction off the pitch. Despite all the things ongoing off the pitch and tensions growing between fans and ownership, like I mentioned in the video earlier, Carlos Corberan got on with the job at hand, and that was getting West Bromwich Albion promoted. We didn't get promoted, but we managed to reach the playoffs where we narrowly lost to Southampton, and there was a clear difference in quality, but it was still a fantastic job from Carlos Corberan with everything ongoing off the pitch, lack of investment and a lack of interest from the owners. Despite all this, Carlos Corberan was still one of the best managers in that championship season.
I think it's kind of time to start really taking notice of West Brom again. There was so much pre-season negativity around Paggy. Honestly, just purely Carlos Corberan is able just to take a group of players and turn them into such a high-functioning team where, yes, they only won this game 1-0, but they were completely and utterly dominant. Again, 18 shots to Swansea's 6, 4 big chances to Swansea's 1. The XG number's 2.4, 0.46. Like, just constant pressure, constant ability to create chances. I still believe that because of Luton's clear issues, because I think there are still big question marks around Burnley, Sheffield United, it doesn't feel like a particularly strong group of relegated sides. But it does feel like this is a great season for a Borough, a West Brom, a Coventry, a Sunderland, someone to step up and be a dominant force. And I don't see any reason why that can't be Baggies right now.
The number one manager we would want in charge of our football club out of every manager in the Championship, it's West Bromwich Albion's Carlos Corberan. There's a reason why he's known as King Carlos, and he's the king of our managerial rankings for this coming season. And here's the reason why. At Huddersfield, he pulled off an astonishing feat in getting a club with one of the lowest budgets in the league to third in the table and a playoff final, which they may have won if people running VAR didn't have a nap on that day. And since then, he's gone to West Brom, a club with all sorts of problems. Barely made a signing last summer, actually had a weakened squad heading into last season than the season before. And they finished 5th, when expectations were probably the lowest they've been at West Brom in quite some time. Carlos Corberan still managed to achieve a 5th place finish. And the thing is as well, they were in the playoffs from November onwards. Didn't fall out at any point. That's incredible, isn't it? And that consistency just shows how on it Carlos Corberan is. This is a manager who's done 2 remarkable jobs at 2 clubs who have had all sorts of issues. He's a tactical mastermind. He's got this great flexibility for adapting to whoever they're playing, and it means they're able to go toe-to-toe with the best in the division, and we saw that multiple times last season. Concede very few goals as well. They are so tight at the back, and it was only really the last few games of the season which really let down their defensive record, because up to that point they were arguably the best defensive side in the whole of the Championship. But his man management is also top class, as you mentioned there, with him getting the best out of so many players at West Brom last season whose best days were seemingly well behind them. He ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't he? A hell of a lot of boxes. And I'm fancying West Brom to be a promotion contender next season. A part of that is down to the new ownership and their ambition. Another part of it is down to the experience and talent in this squad. But the vast majority of that, the vast majority, is down to Carlos Corberan being a top-class manager.
I genuinely believe, after the transfer window, what Carlos Corberan has had, that West Bromwich Albion this season could potentially be promoted under Carlos Corberan. Not only has Corberan brought in his own players, he now has a backing owner in Shilan Patel, who fully supports the Spaniard, which would be music to Carlos Corberan's ears. Carlos Corberan was shouting out for investment for years and years, and now he's finally got it. And who knows what the best manager in the Championship can now achieve. I just want to thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Also give me your thoughts if you think Carlos Corberan is the best manager in the Championship. Up the Albion. See you in the next one.